Seems about right. Busy. In New York. Right.
Perfect. Okay. 1 minute. So give you the publisher's code. Okay, let's start. Come, my beloved, to meet the bride. Let us welcome the Shabbos. Yehine Shabbos Nikris Kalo. Shabbos is called the bride. The Nikris Malka. It is also called the queen. Maamar Shabbos Malka. So, in this person, the Shabbos queen. Yehine Chashon the Kalo. The above analogies reflected on this material plane in a wedding between a groom and a bride. Harehe Chashon Nikra Melech. The groom is called the king. Kidi Isa B'Frike Rabbi Elazar. Perktasvav Chashon Doimel Melech. This is mentioned in the book of Medrash. At the end of chapter 16, the groom is known as the king. Akala Nikris Malka, and the bride is called the queen. Focus in the parallel to these concepts in spiritual realms. The Torah states, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. That's interesting. This is also quoted in this week's Parsha. In the Torah. The Ha'adam Shalmata Hu Beselam Udus Adam Ha'adam. Man on this earthly plane reflects the form and image of the higher man. Shahim Hasfirois Ha'elyonos, i.e., the heavenly spheres. Zer Anpin Datzilos, for Zer Anpin, the small face, the Kabbalists determine the 6 attachment to Tzilus. Nikra Malka is called the king. Chame Boyer, the Inyan, Dechol Nishmasa, Benishmasa, Haba Kaimo, Bidyok Na'a, Kame Malka Kadisha. This is when they consider the statement, the image of the king in every soul stood before the Holy King. Zer Anpin Datzilos, the term Holy King refers to Zer Anpin Datzilos. The spheres of Malchus, Nikris Malchus, the sphere of Malchus, sovereignty is called the queen. The Isa Bezayr the Malcha, Beloi, Matroniso, love. Ihu Melech love. Ihu God, the Zohar states, a king without a queen is neither a king nor is he great. Ha'ikar hu yichud Zer Anpin v'nukva. The essential factor is the union of Zer Anpin and Nukva, the feminine dimension, the Kabbalists determines for Malchus. Chasiv Zachar and Nekeva, Bara Oisam, Bevarich, Oisam, Elohim, Cholam. This is emphasized by the Torah statement, male and female created them, and God blessed them. Blessing was granted them as a unified entity, not to each individual. Because the unity between the bride and the groom is the source of blessing. Just the Shabbos, which is identified with the feminine dimension, must be received with joy. The Shabbos, the whole bitter cotton, is satayim, where it's the source of blessing, both heavenly and earthly. The Shabbos. As Zohar states, all the days of the week are blessed from the Shabbos. So to a bride must also be received with joy. For she is the source of the sublime blessing. The maamar said, the source for the quote, come my beloved to meet the bride, let us welcome the Shabbos. Its features in the Kabbalah Shabbos prayer. Who the Isa B'Gemara is the Talmud's description of how the sages were prepared to greet the Shabbos. Okay, Rabbi Chanina, the Ataf, the Kai Apanya, the Maile Shabbos. Rabbi Chanina robed himself in fine clothing. Rashi says, stood at the sunset on Shabbos Eve, and Amar Boili, the Neche Likra Shabbos Amalka, exclaimed, come, let us go forth to welcome the Shabbos Queen. Rabbi Yanai Levisha, Manei, Bigday Shabbos, Shaloi. Maile Shabbos, Shabbos. Rabbi Yana donned his robe, Shabbos clothing on Shabbos Eve. And maamar boy kala, exclaimed, "Come, O bride, come, O bride." Hachi kare la lishvisa Shabbos mitoy chaviv Rashi. Because of his great love for Shabbos, he would refer to it as his bride, Rashi. Mazoyer chelek gimel daf ayin reish beis amud beis isa. In the Zohar in the third volume, page 272, side B says, it emphasizes the relation between the bride and the Shabbos, stating, "Ubishabbos bechol miloi tzarich le'itoisfa mechol al hakodesh." On Shabbos, one must add on from the mundane to the holy in all matters. Bein b'ma'achala hu b'mishta, bein b'ilabushay, bein b'hasei v'asei. In one's eating, drinking, clothing, and reclining, tzarich le'sakana le'mesiva shapira b'chama karim u'chesaso ishmerak man mikol yish v'vesi. One must prepare pleasant couch with the embroidered covers and pillows from the finest of all that is found in his house. The man disakin chuppah kala, just as one would prepare a marriage chamber for a bride. The shabbata ihi malchisa ihi kala, or behold, Shabbos is a queen and a bride. Hainu tichshem shehashabbos hi mikor habrachos. This Shabbos is the source of all blessings. So to rejoice with the groom and bride and greeting them. He mikor habrachos is the source of all blessings. The above can be explained in terms of the verse. Upon all the glory shall there be a canopy. The word all implies two aspects of honor. The honor of the groom and the honor of the bride. God is often referred to as the groom. As reflected in our sage's interpretation of the verse, on the day of his wedding, the day of the giving of the Torah, God is referred to as the groom. And the Jewish people are called his bride. Honor refers to the encompassing light or revelation of divine light that is above our conscious power. The honor of the groom refers to God's great and all-encompassing love for the Jewish people. As is written, I have loved you, said the God. The honor of God refers to the great and all-encompassing love of the Jewish people for God. As is written, my soul longs indeed pines for the courtyards of God. Indeed, kala, the root of the word kala, bride, has the meaning of longing. Kalos nefesh. Thus, we find the expression kalos nefesh. The soul expires in love for God. The marriage canopy represents a more general encompassment over both the groom and bride. These spiritual qualities are mirrored in the marriage ceremony on the physical plane. The order of a wedding is that first many people come to greet the groom. Afterwards, they proceed together with the groom to greet the bride. And then the groom covers the bride with a veil. And they go to the marriage canopy. To explain the concept. Whenever a makabel recipient ascends and approaches the level of mashpia, source of influence. Right, this is interesting. The term mashpia and makabel are used in the description of many types of relationships. Right, this is like a giver and a taker, the bestower and the recipient, pitcher, catcher, etc. The root and word for mashpia is the word shefa, meaning flow or emanation. Right, a measured flow. Mashpia is the source of flow, a bestower of energy, a giver of love, knowledge, blessing, and the like. The Kabbal receives and accepts what the Mashiach grants. It is first necessary for the Mashpia to establish a connection by drawing down his external qualities. To the external qualities of the Makabel. So that through this transmission of influence, the Makabel can elevate himself and approach this level of Mashpia. Enabling him to then receive the inner qualities of the Mashpia. Right, so first, before there can be an inner dimension that's exchanged, there has to be an external dimension so that the one in the lower level can even connect to the higher level. So there has to be an external dimension that's connected first, primarily from above to below, And that's what's going to enable the lower to rise up to the level to receive at the inner level from the higher. Let's read this again. So it's first necessary for the mashpia to establish drawing down his external qualities, right? So first, mashpia has to externally, right? That could be like making a joke, reducing himself in some external way, not something essential, but something external. Again, like reducing himself by making a joke, making a small talk, to take someone at a much higher level to connect to someone at a lower level, so they can eventually have some kind of transmission to the external qualities of the makabel, right? And they get the joke, so now they're connected at some level, be it all external. And right, not really essential. So that through the transmission of the influence, the Makabel can elevate himself and approach the level of Mishpia. Right? And I think of like cargo ships, right? Docking cargo ships. First, there has to be an external union before they can transfer whatever it is, goods from the truck to the warehouse, or vice versa, warehouse to the truck. So too here. The Makabel, the one who's bestowing the influence, first has to connect to the external dimension of the one who's receiving the influence, and then there can be an internal transmission, enabling him to then receive the inner qualities of the mishpia. Okay, quitzer, summary. The section explains that the Gerum and the Brian can be compared to the heavenly sphere of Zeran Pnei Malchus. The Kabbalah Pnei Hakala, who Kedugmas Kabbalah Pnei Shabbos. Reading the Brian is compared to receiving the Shabbos. Shehi Habracha L'chol Yimei Hashavua, which contains the blessing for all the days of the week. Kavod Chas and Avos. Hakadosh Baruch Hu lives in Knesset Yisrael. The honor of the groom refers to the God's love of the Jewish people. Kavod Kalavas Knesset Yisrael. Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the honor of the bride, refers to the Jewish people's love for Ashgab. The chuppah hu hamshachas ha'atzmus, the marriage can be drawing down the essence of God. The koidim ha'chuppah hechoson mechase es hakala b'tzayif. Before the actual wedding ceremony, under the marriage ceremony, the groom covers the face of the bride with a veil. Shehu keruv chitzonius hamashpia el hachitzonius hamakabel, thus establishing an external connection bond between the mashpia and the makabel, the giver and the receiver. Bishvil hashpa'ah the Kabbalah pnimius. However, the external bond is intended to enable inner influence to be conveyed by the groom and received by the bride, ultimately. But there has to be the external connection established first. Okay, we'll stop for today with this. This will be the end of today's first one.